So, a couple of weeks ago, I put put up a YouTube short talking about the healthcare and the VA healthcare specifically in Puerto Rico, and y'all came in and flooded the comments, which is great, which is awesome. I love to see it. Um, some of the comments were I want to say anything was bad. Some of the comments were like heeds of caution, and then there were a few comments that people said, well, it works great for me, and I take into account all of that. But I feel like I need to dive deeper into that because there's a difference between healthcare is bad in Puerto Rico, and we're gonna have bad healthcare in Puerto Rico, and that's a big difference. And that's what this video is about. So we're gonna go into that today. So first, a little context, because without context, none of this makes sense. Lex and I are not planning to move to Puerto Rico so that we can get there and grind it out, get a 9 to 5, fight traffic, any of that. That's not the plan. That's not even close to the plan. So the plan is that
Bruh.
so the plan is that I get this channel to where it needs to be for us to be able to live, and then I'm trying to grow a business at the same time, and those two things are very important for even this move to happen. Like these things have to be in the right place. So we're not going there to rely on the system. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that to be better than anybody else. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying that that's what all the planning is for, so that we can find out what it's like and what we need to do to combat that. You see what I'm saying? So if the two things that need to happen most, which is the growth of this channel and the growth of my business, if these things don't get to a point where we can sustainably survive on our own, then the move doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going there to figure it out. Like, these two things need to happen. If it's not gonna be right, then we're just gonna stay right where we are. There's no point of going somewhere to struggle worse than what we are, just to quote unquote live in paradise. You know what I'm saying? All right, so here's the plan. Because I spent a good few hours researching this, and then Lexi and I sat down and talked about it. So the first thing is to secure health insurance, right? And there's private insurance. That's checkbox number one, because I'm not gonna I'm not going there to rely solely on my VA benefits. And Lexi's not a veteran, so that doesn't help her at all. So then, don't get me wrong, I love my VA my my benefits, but I'm not going there and placing this whole thing and relying on them on this one hospital and on an island. Like, that's not gonna work. So we looked into private insurances, and I'm not sure if many people know this, but there are coverages. There are coverages like insurance companies that provide nationwide coverage, and then there's international insurance plans which cover you when you go abroad. Like, that's exactly why it's designed. Now, obviously, this stuff kind of costs money, and in no place I am in no place right this minute to purchase any of that. But again, that's the plan. So if we're able to make this move, then that's one of the first things that we're going to do is secure private health insurance so that we're covered. So the idea is that little maintenance stuff, then you can get done on the island. Like, that's fine. You don't have to do. But if you have like anything like critical going on, like specialty kind of stuff, then you head over. You come back to the mainland. You schedule that somewhere on the mainland, that's the time where you go visit family, you take care of your business, do all these little things, and then you schedule your medical stuff to get done during that time. So that's part of the plan right there. So that's checkbox number one. That's an option. That plan, those plans exist. Now they're not free. They don't cost you something, but the plan exists. And look, I'm not a healthcare expert. I'm not. This isn't free medical advice. I'm not telling you what plan to pick. All I'm saying is that the conversation doesn't have to stop at healthcare in Puerto Rico is bad. Like there's options out there if you're willing to look. And in reality, that's the bigger topic of the video today because those are check boxes that we have to check off. That's checkbox number one out of a lot. So you know that's why we're doing the research. So here's what this process has taught me. The life we want in Puerto Rico, building something from scratch and doing it on our own terms, like that life has a price tag, both figuratively and literally. You know, so if you want if you want something bad enough, then the question shouldn't be, can I afford it? The question should be, what does that life cost? Because what happens is a lot of people they ask themselves, well, can I afford it? And then they look at their funds that they have now, and if the answer is no, then the conversation's over. But if you really want to do something, then you have to paint a clear picture of what that life actually cost. And once you have that picture, now you have a goal, you have a plan, you have something you can build towards. And that's what Lexi and I are doing. We're trying to figure out what this life that we want to live cost us. Now, keep in mind, Puerto Rico is not a goal, it's just the destination. We want to be able to do this anywhere. We're just choosing to do it in Puerto Rico. So you have to figure out, get a clear picture of what this life costs you, and then figure out how you're going to get there. And if we can, then we go. But if not, we don't go until we can. And it's that simple. By the way, if you're new here, stick around. This is the Puerto Rico series, where we're documenting everything in real time. The planning, the math, the real life conversations. Episode 1 is linked in the description if you want to start from the beginning. Back to the vlog. Life. He is just having a blast. Okay. Go ahead. Go to Mima. No, I told him to go. I was like, go ahead. Box 1, healthcare. Already talked about private insurance, international health plan, with a contingency to come back to the mainland if we need any type of specialty care. So that box is being addressed. Moving on from that. Box 2 is Wi-Fi. And we gotta, this is very important because if the Wi-Fi goes down, then I can't make content, I can't coach. And then the whole thing falls apart. So we're not asking if Puerto Rico has Wi-Fi. I think that'd be silly. We're asking, what's the most stable option in the specific area that we're looking at? Is there fiber? Is there a secondary option? Can we run a mobile hotspot? Like, this is something that we need to know before we settle in when we get there. All right, box 3 is electricity, right? It's no secret that Puerto Rico's always had like some kind of power issue, especially since Maria. You might know the Hurricane Maria, excuse me. You might know the history, but you know, so we're thinking about like things like some kind of backup power solution like solar or something backup generator, something like that. Now that's gonna be an extra cost. Like that's something that you really are gonna have to budget for. But if the power goes out and I lose a day of work, that's gonna cost more than whatever the solution is for the backup power plan. So that's something that again we need to address. So box 4 is water. Now water reliability varies depending on where you are on the island. So it's a box. It's something that, that's a real conversation that we need to have. It's not a deal breaker, but it is, something that needs to be talked about. So, but we'll figure that out before, we'll know the answer to that before we sign our lives away to rent anywhere on the island. That's everything that we can think of. And Lexi and I sat down a couple days ago and we really thought about, like, we really put a number together, like an actual number of what we need to make a month to considering all those things that I just talked about to live the way that we want to live on the island. Like, and it was much larger than I thought it was. It was much larger than I thought it was. But the and I'm not gonna throw it on screen because we're still working through it. It's still the rough number. So when I get the actual number, when we figure it out, in the future, in the near future, when we figure it out, like for sure, then I'll share that number with you. But keep in mind that everybody's situation is gonna be different. But when we thought on, I tell you what about that number though, like it made me realize that we can't just show up. Like we need to be ready before we go, and that's where we are. But the good thing is that I told you before, like we're not rushing this. God isn't in a rush, and everything's gonna happen in His timing when it's right. So, but we're gonna do the work now. We're gathering all this information now, and trying to figure all this stuff now, so that when the opportunity presents itself, when the door opens, we can just walk through. If you're sitting there with a big dream, a big move, a big what if, and you're kind of feeling stuck, then hear me when I say this. Don't ask yourself, can I afford it? At least not yet, because that number will stop you before you even get started. And instead, ask yourself, what is the life I want to live cost? And get that number, the real number, and then write that down. Because at that point, now it's not just a dream. It's a goal. It's a target. And targets are something that you can always work towards.